This is Deep Dive. I'm Yang Chengxi. For a very long time, artificial intelligence faced ridicule for not being intelligent enough. But ever since the debut of ChatGPT by OpenAI in 2022, generative AI models have consistently astounded people with their capabilities. From content creation to software development, and from design and art to language translation, generative AI tools are leading the charge towards enhanced efficiency, creativity, and innovation. However, along with this transformation are concerns about the credibility of the information we consume, the proliferation of deepfakes, and heightened fears of job displacement. How can we tackle fake news and misinformation effectively? What steps should we take to establish a regulatory framework to govern our interactions with AI? To delve into these questions, I spoke with my colleague Yang Chengxi. This episode is brought to you on Monday, March the 4th. So, in light of the topic today, we have gathered some clips of AI-generated voices. And a quick disclaimer that all of the voices you're about to hear are not the original sound of the speaker. And there's a high chance, Chengxi, you might recognize some of these voices, even though they're speaking a different language. And let's give it a listen.
Sure.
功夫最好的例子就是一杯水，为什么？因为水是世界上最柔软。
Let's put it this way, okay? Let's be happy and that's it. Don't overthink. Overthinking is pointless. And it's part of being human.
最近我去了很多地方，比如意大利、还有法国和日本。
警察和法院保护你，不需要像我这样的朋友。
Ero conosciuto come un famoso teppista nella regione settentrionale della Liaoning.
Was there any voices that you recognized?
Well, I hear Taylor Swift. That was quite a famous clip of Taylor Swift speaking Chinese, I guess.
That's right.
Quite viral here on Chinese internet. And by the sound of the background music, I could sort of guess that the third one is Godfather. That was
Right.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, that's right.
Yes, yeah. But who's the first guy?
So the first one was actually Bruce Lee speaking in Mandarin. There was an interview of him speaking English, but translated into Mandarin through generative AI tools.
Oh, that Be Water interview, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And of course, the next few speakers that you didn't recognize, they are Guo Degang, a Chinese 相声 comedian, and also the last one, actually dubbed in Italian, that was another Chinese actor called Fan Debiao, speaking in Italian, which maybe in his whole lifetime he would never expect himself to speaking in this language.
Yeah.
So how real do these AI voices sound to you? And if you were not told, if we didn't put that disclaimer that these are AI generated voices, would you be able to tell the difference between these AI audio and the original human sound?
Well, honestly, I wouldn't, because when you told me that the last guy who spoke Italian was actually a Chinese guy, a Chinese actor, I was quite taken aback because I thought that was a continuation of the clip from Godfather, from the cast speaking Italian. So I honestly couldn't tell. If you listen really closely, you could sort of tell the AI sounds don't have that much of an intonation compared to normal human voices. They're comparatively a little bit more flat than human voices, but I would say that they're pretty good because CGTN, well, we have been experimenting also with AI voice generation, right? We have multiple AI presenters now online now with voices that are nearly identical to our natural speaking voice. I have an avatar who can now speak Spanish, who can speak Russian.
你好，我是杨，一名会说中文和英文的。Con la ayuda de la inteligencia artificial, puedo aprovechar instantáneamente. Sans avoir besoin de connaître au préalable d'autres langues étrangères. Обещающие создавать увлекательные истории, потрясающее искусство и, возможно.
Well, I've always wondered how I would sound like when I speak Spanish, but now I know. I wish I was this talented. And
but in reality, you don't speak this language.
No, that's the power of technology.
Right. And so as journalists, and we have seen like artificial intelligence bring in this massive impact into this industry. And but to be honest, I think without many people knowing that AI has already played a very big part in the distribution of contents and news, like Google News, Total, that's where a lot of people look for information online. But in the past 2 years, these advancements in generative AI have been getting into the creation of contents, which is directly impacting us, like as content creators, journalists. And how do you think this will affect us as journalists and other content creators?
First of all, as a journalist, well, the explosion of generative AI, especially when it comes to text generation and text to video technologies, at first could be quite threatening. I felt a little bit of trepidation when ChatGPT and tools like Sora came out, and tools like AI avatars whose voice could perfectly mimic my own. So I had to literally call my mom and say, if anyone who sounds exactly like me ask you for money, just don't give it to
Right.
him. Just only give it to me when I'm asking directly standing in front of you, right? Don't believe any voice messages. So we've now come to that point, right? But we'll talk about more about the impact on truth and facts later on in the program, I guess. But for content creators, I think generative AI has changed a lot of the ways that content creators, especially video content creators, generate their content. For example, we use HeyGen, the tool that was used to create these AI avatars, to create different channels. For example, one of the biggest content creators on YouTube, Mr. Beast, now has, apart from his main English channel, now a Spanish channel, using these AI technologies to translate all of the content and even voice all of the content and make it into another channel. And the Spanish speaking audience is quite a huge audience on YouTube. And now
That's
with
right.
the help of AI, he can easily capture a big chunk of the market of YouTube. And that, I think that is a pretty good marketing strategy for this content creator. And of course, we use tools like ChatGPT to generate video ideas and even write post video descriptions to the videos. And sometimes content creators could use tools like Midjourney to create very good looking thumbnails for their videos. So it saves a lot of Photoshop work, right? Yeah, and also I could mention Sora, because although we cannot use Sora as of now, but the videos are looks very promising, right?
Right.
And we also showed some of the Sora videos to our in-house cameraman for their professional opinion. And well, they're saying that a lot of the videos, although some perspectives are wrong in terms of filmmaking, right? You could tell that the perspectives are wrong, and some text on the videos are still gibberish. That's a common thing with AI. They cannot get text characters right, but give it time, they will only get better. So as of now, they are already very good for being used as stock footages in future videos, and they will get better in the future. This is their worst state now, and it will only get better months from now. Because when you imagine, could you imagine just a year ago, we were just amazed by ChatGPT's text capability, and now it's gone in the video, and who knows, 5 to 10 months from now, what will we be talking about?
And of course, journalism might be just one of the many industries that is shocked by these generative AI tools. And one, for example, the film industry. So Jeffrey Katzenberg, he's the former chairman of Walt Disney Studios and co-founder of DreamWorks Studios. Last year in November, he predicted that AI will cut 90% of the artist jobs in the animated industry. And of course, it's worth noting that by the time of his prediction, Sora wasn't released yet. And which industries do you think might be revolutionized by AI tools? And also, are you concerned about job losses due to AI?
Well, I think there definitely will be some job losses when AI are mass introduced. For example, you have already mentioned that the creative industry is the first to bear the impact. We've already been hearing job cuts in production studios. For example, a lot of the marketing professionals, the ones who design posters, are now very nervous right now. I believe, because AI pictures are already pretty good, and now with some minor tweaks, you can have very decent marketing material, cutting a lot of the costs. So I think a lot of the advertising agencies might have to downsize going forward, apart from the creative filmmaking industry. And also, I could guess that a lot of the software development companies will also be looking at how to use generative AI to cut their costs, because we've already seen a lot of tech moguls saying on social media that the future of coding language is just going to be natural human language. Because back in the days, you need to learn one of the coding language, for example, Python and C++, to be able to code, to be able to develop software. But now ChatGPT is now capable of writing pretty decent software just by us telling it to. For example, I could tell ChatGPT, write me a software that could become like a slot machine game that I could run on my Mac. I don't know if it can now right now, but that's the line of thought that could be applied to ChatGPT. It is very good at writing a lot of the codes that we humans used to do, and it's pretty good. So I could guess that a lot of coders in the future will have to master this one extra skill, and that is telling GPT what to do. Prompt generation, and that is a very hot phrase right now. That is a new skill for the future. So one of the consistent themes that I've been noticing is that when AI came out, a lot of people guess that in the future, a lot of the blue collar jobs, or maybe surface jobs, or maybe industrial production jobs could be replaced by AI, and we could do something more meaningful. But now a little bit of the opposite is happening. A lot of the white collar jobs, a lot of the brain jobs are being taken over by AI, and those that are less impacted are the ones related to physical labor. The blue collar jobs are staying. Well, I don't know if this situation will reverse again in the future, but that is an interesting observation.
That's right. And many of these tools that we have brought up are from the States. And
Yes.
now, if you take a look at the AI landscape in China, so very recently, Alibaba has led a record deal along with Tencent and Silicon Valley peers like Microsoft of a $1 billion investment in a Chinese AI firm called Moonshot AI, which is reportedly the largest single financing round for a Chinese AI startup since the launch of ChatGPT 2 years ago. So currently, the capital market has their eyes on the AI tech companies in China. So is the Chinese government, which has been promoting digital transformation and AI application in many industries. How do you think AI will impact China's economy, and what are the industries that might receive a boost the most?
Well, in fact, recently I've been visiting several AI companies that are merging AI with a lot of stuff. For example, I visited a company that merged AI with a cleaning robot. For example, the old cleaning robots, you cannot directly tell them in human language where to go and what to clean. But now with AI embedded in a cleaning robot, you could directly tell them to go clean up that bottle in front of building 3, for example. So that's one way to use AI. Apart from this, another industrial application of AI that I visited was to merge robot arms with AI. So you can now give commands to a robot arm and tell it to, for example, bake a cake in a microwave. And if it has access to a microwave in front of them, in front of the robot arm, it can do it. It can understand your human language command. And a lot of these tools leverage open source technology. These two companies happen to use a tool from Alibaba, the company that you've mentioned, because their AI tool, their large language model is something akin to ChatGPT. It's not as good as ChatGPT 4, but it's still at a very decent level and could be merged with a lot of industries. And the good thing is that it is open source. I don't know if you have heard the closed source versus open source debate is
Right.
on the rage, all the rage now in Silicon Valley. Elon Musk has already sued OpenAI
That's
for
right.
being a closed source company. But a lot of the large language models in China, for example, the one from Alibaba, is open source, meaning any company could download their model and tweak them to their own needs and apply them to their products. And that's why we've been seeing these AI plus robotics, AI plus cleaning robots, things that are popping up across China. And that's because these tools in China, at least the ones from Alibaba, are open source. So it could be applied to a much wider range of industry and letting these industries experiment and tweak these large language models. And I'm not saying that the open source don't have its own problems, because if you're able to download and tweak any large language models, there will be some misuses. But the overwhelming advantage of being open source here in China is that a lot of the companies can contribute their ideas and can contribute their modifications to large language models, and we could pull together our intellectual developments and really catch up with a lot of the closed source programs that are, for example, developed in the States.
So at least we can say that open source AI models enable the combination of this mere virtual coding with other industries to create something new, something that's different from the previous products.
Yes, they can all contribute their experiences using these large language models, and that's the power of open source. And that and the open source spirit was what's been driving for example, computer operating system developments for years now.
And on top of this debate on open source AI tools, there have been many other controversies, of course, surrounding generative AI. So since the release of ChatGPT, there have been many users trying to break through the ethical wall of the AI tool by creating scenarios and to lead the AI into giving answers that is not supposed to give. And at the very end of 2023, the New York Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft for training its AI models with contents from the media agency. And also very recently, Google also apologized for the, quote, inaccuracies in some historical image generation depictions with its Gemini AI. What are the ethical and copyright pitfalls of AI should we be aware of, and how can we prepare for them?
Well, I think, first of all, that is one problem with the power of AI being concentrated in big tech companies. I think that is one of the outcomes that could happen. The ideas of this company gets to be influencing how these AI perform. And as you said, a lot of these AI tools do produce misinformation and biases and what we call hallucinations, because it will not, a lot of the times these AI tools will not give you an answer that goes, okay, I don't know the answer to that question you just posed. If it cannot search what you're looking for in the database, a lot of the time they will start to hallucinate and to produce information that is simply not correct, that's not out there in the world anywhere. So that is the problem that needs to be addressed. And for example, I went to a web summit last year in Lisbon, Portugal, where I interviewed tech ministers from two countries, Cape Verde and Serbia. And they told me that they are hoping for a higher level of international collaboration, which is still only at the beginning stage now. And the tech minister of Serbia, Minister Begovic, told me that it is high time that the international community set up something like the IAEA that governs the atomic energy, because the power of AI is so great that we should take this on the same level as atomic energy now.
Okay, so that's the end of our questions. And if you would excuse me, I'm going to use an AI tool to make a transcription of our conversation. Thank you so much for joining, Chengxi.
Thank you.
At the ongoing annual session of China's top political advisory body, members are advocating for the regulation of generative AI. Chairman Qi Xiangdong of a cybersecurity firm raised concerns about AI's capability to fabricate information, which could undermine public trust. Nevertheless, he acknowledged its economic potential and emphasized the need to set industrial standards to guarantee fair access for companies of all sizes and individuals from diverse age and education backgrounds. As the development of generative AI accelerates, there's a pressing need for a global governance framework to keep pace. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Deep Dive. If you enjoyed what you just heard, don't forget to follow us on your podcast platform. Just search for Deep Dive. You can also leave comments to let us know what you want to learn about China and beyond. This episode is brought to you by me, Li Yunqi, and my colleagues Zhang Zhang and Qi Zhi. Special thanks to CGTN reporter Yang Chengxi. I'll see you in the next one.